Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans. And we have a video that I think I can say, Rick, I've been waiting all day to make this video from when I was at work. I know you've been probably waiting all day to make this video. As over the time that we have covered the CFL, we have done numerous videos on what we believe the CFL could do to gain more engagement, to increase the attendance in the markets that maybe are having a harder time, and really turn this league around in the right way. And yesterday we heard there was going to be an announcement. I'm saying, so we're recording this technically 1:31 in the morning as of Tuesday.
That's fine.
But
as Carter likes to say, it's not morning because I haven't slept.
Exactly, that's right. It's not the next day because I haven't went to bed yet. So, but this will be going up the day after this announcement, and there's a lot here. Now, there's a lot that they do. Now, there's also a lot that they don't do, because I think a lot of people are getting a bit ahead of this. A lot of people are very upset about this. There are some people that are very pleased with this. So before we get into it, before we get into our opinions, I want to first discuss exactly what is happening. There are rule changes that are going to be coming into the CFL in 2026 and 2027. In 2026, there will be changes that will now mandate the use of different sidelines, with the home team on one side and the away team on the other. Now, a lot of stadiums have already done this. Winnipeg does it like this. Saskatchewan does this like this, and numerous other teams do. But it has always been optional and up to the team's discretion, and this will no longer be the case, and it will now be mandatory. This is a good move, as having a guy have to run like 90 yards for a substitution is a little ridiculous. And it just makes sense. I can't believe that this wasn't a thing already. Secondly, the play clock is going to 35 seconds. However, it is a automatic play clock, meaning that when one play is done, there's 35 seconds immediately from there. There's no waiting on the official. Sometimes the official blows it quick. Sometimes they don't. There's no waiting on it. And the third one, coming in 2026, is the modification of the Rouge, where the Rouge will still award a point for when a player is tackled in the end zone, or when if he kneels and concedes the point. However, if a missed field goal or a punt or a kickoff kick goes through the back of the end zone, that is worth nothing. There are no points that are awarded for that. Yeah. Now, for the changes coming in 2027. This is where the field size of the CFL is going to be altered. Firstly, with the end zones being standardized at 15 yards. The current end zones are 20, so they will be reduced to 15. Still above NCAA and NFL standards of a 10-yard end zone, but smaller than the current CFL end zones. Then one of the biggest changes that are happening, that I know that a lot of people are having an issue with, is the goalposts will be moved. They will no longer be at the front of the end zone as they have been for a long time, as far as pretty much everyone in our lifetime can remember for Canadian football. They will be moving to the back of the end zone and be consistent with the American game. And the last change that will be happening is the elimination of the 55-yard line. The CFL will be going from a 110-yard field down to an American-style 100-yard field as their main playing surface. Now, keep in mind a few things that will not be changed. They are not going to 4 downs. Now I know they didn't rule it out. I mean, as of right now, they're not going to 4 downs. There's no plans for that. There are no plans for removing the waggle. There are no plans for changing kickoff. And the field width at 65 yards wide will continue to be 65 yards wide. Now, there's a lot of people that have a lot of opinions on this. I certainly have a lot of opinions on this. And if you're asking me if I'm for these changes or against, I actually don't think I fit into either category. I think I am incredibly mixed. And there are things I like, things I don't like. Rick, I know there's things you like, things you don't like. Do you want to get into that for yourself? Because I think we should go through what we like, what we're kind of indifferent about, and then what we don't like. So
me, it's not what I like and what I don't like. Like I get like the whole sideline things, and so
what would be your favorite change here if you could only get one of these changes?
So me would be the different sidelines. I know we won't be able to see Ryan Didwitty get in fights with other coaches because we've seen that. That was funny to see. But also, if you think about it, and I hate to point fingers at a specific team, but I am, this gives Toronto a reason to sell tickets on the other side.
That's true.
And not selling such few tickets on the other side.
Yeah.
Because if you really think about it, you could have a whole, like, the player side now that they
give an incentive to be behind the other bench. You know what I mean?
It's not even that, but if your rivalry is really toxic, like some teams like down in the States are and stuff like that, and even when it comes to like MLS stuff, when Toronto, TFC, and Montreal get together, it's really toxic. At least this way, you can have the Hamilton fans on one side of the field, Toronto fans on the other side of the field, and there's no problems. One side can cheer for their side, the other side can cheer for their side, and so be it.
So you like the changes there. Are there any other changes that you actually like here?
To be honest, the other one that I would say is kind of like, I wouldn't say a lot, but a little bit, is the goalpost one. Because
so you actually you like the goalpost being moved.
So the reason why I like the goalpost moved is because it opens up your playbook.
This is true.
If you are not even, like, if you're at like the 2-yard line, you now don't have to worry about throwing it and hitting the goalpost.
Cody Fajardo, you ruined it for all of us.
actually, no. Nathan Rourke said that he also hit it once too.
I know, but the one that everyone remembers is the one where Saskatchewan has the chance to tie the game in the West Final in 2019, and he hits the uprights. This is why even, like, I gotta give credit where credit's due. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers social media team is usually undefeated, and they still are. Where they posted this photo, and it says, "When you know bro is the reason for the rule change, but you can't prove it yet."
Oh, who was it? Wasn't it a Saskatchewan player that ran into the goalpost once?
And that's the thing. So there are 3 reasons that the CFL, the official reasons that the CFL has given for the moving of the goalpost. There are 3.
Yes.
Reason number 1, player safety. Having a big steel post in the middle of the end zone that somebody could run into is dangerous. Just even if you have cushioning around it, it's still a metal post in the middle of the game. Reason number 2 provided by the league is opening the playbook for plays into the end zone. And the third reason is for the cameras, actually. So that way the goalpost will not be in the direct path of the cameras for potentially some better highlight reel clips that they can use to promote the league.
There's actually a 4th reason, and I'm going to quote Stavros Katsatonis on this.
Okay, this is just the ones I heard directly from Stuart Johnson. No. That's what I was saying.
I know. The quote, I just find this funny because he's a safety. No more hiding behind the goalpost for some of those pesky safeties out there. So I just thought that was a little funny.
Oh my goodness. So there's that. So those are some of the rule changes you like. What are you indifferent about? Where you don't dislike it, but you're kind of like, okay, like.
I will say, like, I'm not against all the other ones. There was some that I thought that were going to be announced today, and I'm kind of glad that they were not.
Is there any of these changes that you hear where you're like, I don't like this. I do not like this change.
I mean, not really.
Not really? Okay, that's
Like,
fair.
I'm living with, like, I've had enough time to devour everything, so it's not like.
Yeah,
And plus,
I think
it's out of my control, so it's not like I can control what they change.
Oh yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's not out of my control. I still have an opinion, but I also acknowledge it's out of my control.
It's not like, oh well, we're gonna go do this and
we're gonna go band together and protest, Rick.
Yeah.
Anyways,
but I mean, it's not like anything I say or do is gonna make them change it back.
So, can I give you kind of my take then? Because we got a bit
Sure.
of your take. Here's my take. So, there are 3 of these changes that I can say unequivocally, I absolutely stamp of approval. Firstly, and this is the one that I like the most, I love that the Rouge has been modified and kept in the game. Everything about this rule, everything about the change of the Rouge is pretty much good. I may have made one small change to it. And I'll get into that after. But I love the fact that you can't win the game on a missed field goal. And not even just that. If you miss a field goal, you should not be awarded a point. You should not. Now, the one thing I will say is that, and this would be the only thing I would maybe do, but in my opinion, that this is kind of nitpicking, is I would have still had it if you kicked the ball through the back of the end zone on kickoff and you hammer that ball that deep, you deserve the single. You deserve that point as a kicker, you know? But that's a nitpick. I think the net positive that we get from this change outweighs what that little bit could have been there. I think that this is an excellent change that keeps the Rouge is part of what makes Canadian football unique. And they should not get rid of it. But also at the same time, you're telling me that let's say you're not a CFL fan or not even a football fan and you're trying to get into the CFL and you watch that game between Saskatchewan and Toronto when it's 19-19 and Toronto misses the field goal, kicks it through the back of the end zone and wins the game. If I wasn't a fan and I didn't know the rules, I'd be like, what the fuck? What is that? What is that? Like, seriously? They won the game? They were rewarded for failure. Like, what is going on? That change is a great change that Stuart Johnston's making, Commissioner Stuart Johnston. Second change that I actually quite like. I'm a fan of the 35 second automatic play clock. I like this because the amount of times where the officials will blow that play right away or wait really, really long and blow it down, I sometimes find it annoying as someone who is at the Bomber games here in Winnipeg. Winnipeg is a rowdy crowd. And the amount of times it seems like the ref is waiting for the crowd to calm down so they can start the play. When no, they shouldn't. The crowd shouldn't calm down for the play to start. The game should keep its intensity. And it does. And it's 35 seconds, which means that as a player, you know exactly how much time, if you're making a substitution, you have to get off the field. I like this. It is consistent. I like consistency. And the third change that was made that I really like is the benches being on opposite sides. To be honest, this already should have been the case, and it was for a lot of teams. But now it's going to be all 9 every building. And so that's good. I'm a fan of consistency. There are then 2 changes that are being made that I am indifferent about. I am not opposed to. Firstly, the 15-yard end zones. The rationale that the league has provided for these changes are that they want consistency league-wide, which, again, I am a fan of. Firstly, I like that they are not going to 10-yard end zones. I would have a problem if they did that. I like that they're still unique. They're still the larger end zones, which Canadian football is known for. But because Toronto currently has 18-yard end zones because of limitations with the building, and Montreal has corners cut off because of limitations with the building, with the track that they have there, going to the 15-yard end zones makes it consistent league-wide. You never have to worry about Dembski running out of bounds on that corner route when it would have been completely in Montreal, when it would have been completely fine in Winnipeg. I like the consistency. This is a change, though, where I'm indifferent about it. I still was a fan of the 20-yard end zones. I'm okay with 15. I don't lose sleep over that. The other one is I'm okay with the goalpost at the back of the end zone. Now, I will say, you know what? Rest in peace, all the jokes of Cody Fajardo hitting the uprights there. And I got to say, credit to Cody Fajardo for being such a good sport, where he commented back on the Bombers post saying, "This is funny. I wish I had that much power. Thanks for my 2023 ring." Which, screw you, Cody Fajardo. That's a good one, though. Fair enough. And the it's funny, actually. 13th Man Media commented on that post saying, I mean, he did beat you guys in a Grey Cup 4 years later, so I don't think he really cares. To which the Winnipeg Blue Bombers then said, "What were the Rough Riders doing at the time?" which is a good point, because they weren't doing anything, because they were in their off season. But I'm okay with the goalpost moving to the back of the end zone. I understand the rationale that the league gives, and at the end of the day, the only thing that kind of bums me out about them being moved to the back is there's going to be no missed field goal returns anymore, essentially, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. We still have our awesome return game that you're going to get with punts, with kickoffs, so I'm not losing a ton of sleep over it. There is one change that I actively do not like. There is zero reason to go to a 100-yard field. 110 yards is Canadian football. It is a Canadian football staple. And with all these other changes, even though that the uprights at the front of the end zone were a Canadian football staple, there are rational reasons for moving it to the back of the end zone. So I'm able to live with it for that reason. I have not heard a single argument of why going to a 100-yard field. And crazy enough, for a guy that is loving most of these changes, even Luke Wilson doesn't understand this, as he basically approved every single change that was made. But then, to quote Luke Wilson, "I don't quite understand this as much. I'm assuming there was more analytics done, but with the goalposts moving back, maybe to keep scoring up, they shortened the field." Yeah, so I do not like eliminating the 55-yard line. I don't. There are ramifications for these changes. Firstly, what's going to happen with youth sports? What's going to happen with high school? Like, for example, the Manitoba Bisons share their facility with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, so they're not going to be moving those uprights between games. That's just not happening. There's no way that they're going to alter the field size constantly for something like that. So I imagine that youth sports is going to have to change to this new format, and that's going to be expensive for all the universities and colleges to do that. And the one that I really have no idea about is, what is high school football going to do? Because right now high school football is on this old CFL format. Not every high school is going to have the money to move the uprights to the back. So that's where I'm curious, skeptical. So the only thing I wonder about these rules is, with all these changes being made, and this is where I'm asking you a bit of a question, Rick. I don't think this alone moves the needle enough to get the CFL in the right direction. This is fair rule changes that are happening. But more needs to happen. Not more in the regard of rule changes, but the CFL needs to evolve. They are evolving here with their rules, with their field size. But they need to evolve with their marketing. They need to evolve in other ways that they conduct themselves. How much do you think this moves the needle?
Okay, so there's a couple of things. First off, U Sports did release a statement earlier that I was able to track down. So it says, U Sports is aware of the announcement made by the CFL this afternoon regarding changes to its field dimensions and game rules. U Sports will begin to engage with our members and stakeholders over the following weeks and months to determine the ramifications for university sports and the best course of action for U Sports. Any proposed changes to sport or to football playing regulations will be considered by Sports Technical Subcommittee for Football and the U Sports Committee in due course, following the usual procedures in place. U Sports remains committed to promoting and growing the game of Canadian amateur football across Canada. So, to answer your other question about the whole removing, the 55 and everything, I'm not sure if you knew about this, but this was something that I picked up while I was listening to an Out podcast earlier.
Yep.
So I don't want to be an asshole and say this, but for the future of the league and any future teams, losing the 55 makes sense in the fact that, and I'm going to use Halifax as an example.
Okay.
So, Halifax CPL, and I'm sure if Halifax CFL had a shared stadium, they would play together.
Yeah.
So, you already have well, they don't have a stadium yet, but you could have a multi-purpose stadium for soccer. That already has the dimensions. You could easily get an expansion team in the same stadium that you don't have to make alternative changes to the stadium if it's already built for a certain diameter.
Well, then I see what you're saying. So
yeah,
then
you could already fit a team into that stadium without going from CFL diameters to soccer.
Yeah, because I mean, like the CFL width of 65 yards is the same width as a soccer field, but you're talking in terms of the length of the field, like the distance. Yeah, I see what you're saying. You're saying it fits a little better. No, I get that. I think at the end of the day, I think that these changes, as much as they are big in the terms of that they are big changes. Firstly, I decided to do a little bit of research, Rick, and I wanted to take a look. What kind of rule changes has the CFL made before, in the past, leading up till now? Do you want to hear about some of them?
Sure.
So, firstly, the most recent one, because there's kind of two key ones. So, the first one, the most recent one was just 3 years ago in 2022, where the hash marks moved closer to the center of the field, from 24 yards from the sideline to 28 yards. So there is that, and this mostly affected kickers more than anything. However, probably the biggest one, and this is an interesting one, was a change made in 1986, where actually up until 1986, for those who did not know, the CFL end zones were 25 yards deep. They were fucking massive. They were ridiculously huge. And in 1986, they reduced down to a 20-yard end zone. And now they are at a 15-yard end zone. So there is precedent for this kind of a change. Again, there's a lot of changes here that are a bit more new and are something that we haven't gotten before. But at the end of the day, I find myself actually agreeing with Luke Wilson quite a bit here. I'm not going to lie. I didn't expect that. Where I agree that this is still very much Canadian football. I understand that people are frustrated because there were even more little Canadian quirks that were in here. But I don't view this as a completely Americanizing of the game. I will say I don't like that you're going to 100 yards and not keeping the 110. It seems a little pointless. If they're going to 100 yards, though, I hope there are. If that means that we could potentially get a 10th team at some point, I'm willing to concede that 10 yards. If that means that there's more that they can do, I will say I heard rumors. I don't know, like this is just from. I can't remember if this was Connor or somebody else who said this, so I don't have like a source. But I heard someone saying that apparently that they might be doing this so that in some stadiums they might be able to fit like some like luxury end zone seat things or whatever.
Who was it? There was.
Did you hear about this, Rick, or no?
So it's not that they were fixing luxury things, but Two and Out brought up a point. I forget what stadium. I think is it Saskatchewan that currently has like the seats, like the comfortable seating in the end zone where you can go pay like $400.
I think they do. Yes.
Yeah, so that's gonna suck for that. So I just want to bring up two other things. One that has to do with the rules and something that I've read earlier. So, to do with the removing of the 55. Now, if you kick a field goal, you now have to include the 15 yards from the front of the goal, the end zone, to the back of the end zone where the goalposts are going to be. So it's automatically already going to be 15. Then, if you're a guy like Sergio Castillo, per se, and you used to kick from 50, 55, so forth, now if you're kicking at the 50, you're now kicking a 65-yard field goal instead of a 50-yard field goal.
But here's the thing, though. That affects every kicker. That's not just affecting Sergio.
I'm just.
But it's not like it's not that kickers will have a harder time kicking field goals necessarily.
I'm just saying
it's just saying that being in the same position on the field now will mean that you're a bit further away than you were last year. That's just true. Yes.
But the main thing that I want to mention is, so let's say hypothetically, you guys are playing Saskatchewan, and Brett Lothar kicks the field goal, misses. Or we'll just say he gets the field goal, even though most of his kicks, I'm sure he's missed. You guys start at the 40-yard line. You guys technically only have to go 70 yards. You throw a long bomb, there's a touchdown right there.
Yeah.
But my biggest pet peeve of the day, and this is what pisses me off. I've seen this on Facebook. I've seen this with teams out in the West. People are saying that they're going to boycott and cancel season tickets.
People need to calm the fuck down.
No, but here's my theory is.
Yeah.
If you have a job and your job decides, okay, F you, we're making these changes. It happens in every job. It happens to my job. We all have to live with the changes. Are you then going to go boycott your job because you don't like the rules that they make? No, you're going to live with them. Same with this. Live with the rules. There's nothing that we can change. Yeah, you can go cancel your season tickets. You know, someone's going to buy
realistically, as much as like 20th century football purists are putting up a bit of a hassle over this, and they're throwing a little bit of a fit online. I don't think it's controversial to say that because that's exactly what I've seen. But and I'm not saying that there's not, for those that are worried that the CFL is not stopping here and that potentially they'll at some point go to 4 downs and this and that. I understand why you're feeling that. I get it. But I don't think you should be freaking out. Like, I think people are jumping the gun here. You know what I mean? And there's a few things. So firstly, in general, people don't like change. This is not even a football thing. This is a life thing. In Winnipeg, in the past year, they changed all the bus routes. And people threw up their fucking hands and said, what the hell is this goddamn city doing? The bus routes haven't gotten worse. They're just new and different, and people aren't used to it, and people don't like change.
Yeah.
For example, in the early 1900s, this is from Zach Schnitzer of Bonfire Sports that he does with Darren Bombing, put out a tweet today, and he is right about this. In the early 1900s, football purists thought that the forward pass was for sissies. And this is true because if you think about the evolution of football from a very rugby-based running game, and that you had to always pass that ball back, they thought the forward pass was just, oh my God, we are destroying rugby football. I'm saying rugby football because that was the technical name of the game at the time. Games evolve over time. This is true. Hell, we have a sky cam above the field. Everything about this game evolves over time, and that's fine. And that's fine. And at the end of the day, I just hope that they don't go and Americanize every little bit here. I don't think that they will, personally. I don't see any indicators of that. I see the indicators are that they've made the changes that they have made. But I'm not losing a lot of sleep over these changes. In general, I think that these changes are fine. Again, my only thing is that there's a few things. Well, firstly, these changes were unanimously approved by the CFL owners. So that goes to say a little bit here, in the sense of everyone's raising up their arms about Stuart Johnston. Oh my God, we need Randy back. Stuart Johnston, you did this. How could you do this, Stuart? Only like 151 days in, and you're already changing the game? When Stuart Johnston came in, the CFL owners made it very clear to him that complacency wasn't going to work for them. And that as much as Stuart Johnston is the commissioner of the league, he ultimately doesn't have the biggest form of power. The power in the CFL for rule changes, for all sorts of stuff, is the owners. It's the same thing in every other league. Everyone in the NHL screams and goes, Gary Bettman, oh my God, Gary Bettman did this. Oh my God, Gary Bettman did that. But the fact of the matter is that the NHL owners love him. They love Bettman. This is why Bettman has been there for over 20 years. Because it's so easy for the NHL owners. Bettman can do what the owners wants. Bettman takes the hit for it. The owners don't. Life is good. And so Stuart Johnston is taking all the heat for decisions that were completely approved and probably encouraged by the owners. And so at the end of the day, Stuart Johnston ain't going anywhere anytime soon. So all I can hope, though, is that this league needs to grow. And this league needs to get back on the right foot here. As Troy Westwood, as I think, Rick, we were going to start talking about some of the opinions from the community. I'm just going to kind of start with Troy Westwood.
Yeah, no worries.
Troy Westwood put out a few tweets today regarding the CFL. Now, I'm going to ignore all of his tweets about Donald Trump and scroll down to his ones about Canadian football. Because there's a lot in here. Well, okay, we're more political. Oh, those are the Jake Paul tweets. Hold on a second. Here we go. Here we go. We're getting there soon. To which Troy Westwood, the creator of the most beautiful game, the Banjo Bowl, said, "Dear fans of the CFL, 7 of the 9 teams last year lost money. This seems to be the norm, going back on a number of years now. This is obviously not a sustainable model. tip of the cap to the league for taking steps to make the league more popular. And I agree with him in the sense of that's not sustainable, and that change needed to happen. Even Milt Stegall agrees on this, to which he basically said, I can't remember exactly what he said word for word, but he essentially said, for those who thought that you could just be complacent and just keep doing what you're doing season by season by season, the CFL would die a slow death. Change was needed. What you got, Rick? Let's hear some of the community ones for you. Before we get to the Nathan Rourke stuff, we'll get to the Nathan Rourke stuff.
So before I get into the community ones that I found, I just have a follow-up question to that. Is I get the whole sideline, the different benches will bring in hopefully more fans in Toronto. But I mean, other than that, how else are these? I'm just speaking out loud. Are these changes supposed to be bringing in more revenue and money?
I have to imagine that there is an aspiration to appeal to some of the American fans. I have to imagine it.
Do you get with what I'm saying though? Like obviously, I don't know if you've been to a BMO field, but
I've driven past it. I've never been in it.
Vast majority of their fans right now are on the player's side, from end zone, from goal line to goal line, and the end zone right now.
Yeah.
There's some over on the other side, but I wouldn't say a lot, but some. So I figured, okay, I could see, if Saskatchewan, Winnipeg come to town, all those fans will sit behind their bench on the other side. I get that they get more money in, it's good to, bring up Toronto's attendance. Mm-hmm. But I don't get how this helps with marketing. This helps with...
Well, that's where I think this... To be fair, Rick, I don't think these are the only changes we're seeing. I think these are the only changes rules-wise and whatnot that we're seeing. I imagine that as time goes on, the CFL will market itself differently and will hopefully market itself better. As if there's anything that Stuart Johnston has shown today, he's willing to make big changes. And he made some big changes in the way that the on-field product is gonna be presented. And I'd say my general consensus is that I'm okay with the changes. I'm not getting rid of my season tickets or anything like that. Absolutely not. No question. But I'll put it this way. With how bold Stuart Johnston came out today, do you really think that he's not going to do anything else? Because I think if this has shown anything, this has shown that he has action to him and that he's willing to put pen and paper and do something, even if it means that he's going to get a little backlash. Because there's no way that Stuart Johnston made this announcement without knowing that he was going to get some heat for it. They knew that they were going to get some backlash for this.
So outside of these changes, I cannot see them making any more big changes on the field wise.
Not on the field, no.
Like 10 years.
Yeah, I think there will be more changes made in other aspects. How they market the league, how they try to appeal to fans in Canada, how they try to appeal to fans abroad. I see this league as going in a bit of an investment route. I see them going and spending some money and really using that to try to drive butts into seats to get this league back to where it once was, where all the teams were selling out.
If we're going to go into kind of the other aspect of people's reactions, I'm going to start with one that's from Hamilton. Stavros Kachatonis said, really excited for the new changes in the years to come. The most scarce things about this game and what makes it unique is the ratio, the 12 players, the waggle, the halo, the width of the field. How teams strategize for the Rouge play in the future will also be intriguing. He goes, the red zone plays will be filled with more passing plays, especially in the middle of the field, now that the post has moved back. Opportunity for big plays. No more getting picked by the post. And then he says, putting teams on opposite sides makes sense. Aside from having to run 60 yards on the field for personal changes, too many times there are avoidable player altercations that happen near running near the other things. The other thing that I wanted to mention about that 30-second rule is
the 35-second play clock.
Sorry,
automatic.
The 35-second rule is some teams before would make changes. The other team would make changes. And when I say changes, I'm talking about personnel. The
substitutions.
Team would make substitutions. And then it's like, okay, well, now these people have to go back and make other substitutions. So now 35 seconds, you can do whatever you want in that 35, and then the play goes.
There's two things I want to bring up quickly. Because firstly, one of which is everyone has also been talking about Stuart Johnston. After making these announcements, he took questions from the press. And one of the questions that he had received was, will you rule out the possibility that the CFL would ever actually switch to 4 downs? To which he said, I will not rule it out, but I want you to know that I am a big fan of the Canadian game. Now, everyone immediately got alarmed from this because they're like, whoa. He didn't rule it out. What? And this is where people need to calm down and relax. And here's the thing. When it comes to these sorts of things, he won't promise shit. No matter what his opinion is, no matter whether he is a diehard 4-down football fan or a diehard 3-down football fan, thinks that 4 downs is disgusting, yuck. There was no way that he would guarantee that. Because the fact of the matter is that commissioners don't give guarantees. Because, I mean, how many times, like, did the, how many times did, like, I'm trying, like, how many times did, like, even if I'm just thinking here, with the NHL, with the way that they treat the Winnipeg Jets, they're like, at one time they were kind of like, oh yeah, you know, maybe we'd leave, maybe we wouldn't. Could we guarantee we'd stay? No, we wouldn't. And they'd say all sorts of things like that to cause buzz, to cause, you know, it's kind of one of those things where sometimes causing a little bit of noise, even if it's not necessarily good noise, it causes noise and it gets eyeballs on the product. And what the CFL needs right now is eyeballs on the product. Again, not saying that they should or shouldn't. I'm just saying is that him saying that they won't rule out them going to 4 downs doesn't really mean shit. It really doesn't mean anything, because even if in his heart of his heart he knew he would never switch to 4-down football, he would never admit it publicly like that. At most, he would just say that he loves the Canadian game or loves the American game as well, or whatever the fuck. But it just wouldn't happen. And so the other one was I had another one. I had another thing I was going to mention, but I can't remember. So you get going,
Okay.
Rick.
Well, while you think of what it was. So here's the thing is, did you hear the little soundbite of him and...
Who's him? Him is who?
Stuart Johnson.
Yeah.
On 1050 over, or whatever, 1010 overdrive, whatever the fuck it's called. Did you hear the minute soundbite from that?
The only soundbite I heard besides the press conference was him talking about his response to what Nathan Rourke had said.
Okay. Yeah. His minute response after.
Well, then we should first talk about the Nathan Rourke thing, because we haven't talked about that
Hold
yet.
on, but before you, the reason why I brought up that little soundbite is because in the soundbite that he mentions that he discussed this with football gurus and everything.
Football experts is I think is the term he used.
Well,
yeah.
Then people on internet's like, well, okay, well, who are those football football experts. Here's a fact, people. When you go to the Grey Cup, they have this thing called State of the League, where you can ask the GM or the commissioner questions. How about you go to that and ask him questions like that, and he will answer them, because, if you tweet him out on social media, he ain't going to friggin' respond.
To be fair, he was directly asked if he consulted the players, and he completely avoided the question.
No, I know. But
with all due respect, he dodged that question like a fucking politician. Like,
no, I understand that, and that's the one that I was talking about. But
yeah,
if you go and ask, because there's people that were asking, okay, well, who were the football people that you spoke to? If you go to that event, you can ask them face to face who were the football people that you spoke to, because no one asked him that question today.
Valid. We'll see if we ever get anything that we hear back on that.
So you wanted to bring up the Nathan Rourke?
Yeah, I'm gonna let you kind of get into it, because I think it was you who had sent it to me when you found it.
So basically, I don't want to say this in a rude way, but
I mean, just report
depending
what he
on
said.
who you speak to out there are some people that were saying that Nathan Rourke was crying like and whining like a little bitch. Then there's people that
Nathan Rourke
saying,
outright said, for those who did not hear about it, Nathan Rourke outright said that these new rule changes are garbage, and that he was disgusted that the players were not consulted about this.
Okay, but then he also kind of threw Stuart Johnson under the bus.
Yes, he did.
That says this guy doesn't know anything about Canadian football.
I think though the exact wording he's like, I wonder if he truly loves Canadian football as much as he says he does. Something like that. Yeah. Something like that. I can't remember exactly what he said.
Oh, I went down to by the sounds of how he worded it. It sounded like he went down to the NFL and he didn't like the rules down there, and then he came back here and he was pretty happy with the rules that we have up here.
I mean, he grew up here, to be fair. He's used to the Canadian game.
But at the same time, everyone's going to say everything. But, I mean, everyone's going to have their own opinion. You're going to have your own opinion. I'm going to have my own opinion. But to say that players were not consulted when some players knew about it but couldn't say anything because of things that they signed.
Non-disclosure agreements, NDAs.
So technically, some coaches knew, some players knew, but they couldn't say squat.
Yeah. No, the CFL very much kept this under wraps.
This is because Mr. Reynolds was interviewed on I forget what the podcast is in Saskatchewan, but no,
or not 2 and 0. In Saskatchewan, I can't remember.
The one by the Riders, Edge.
It's not 13th Man, is it?
No, it's what the heck is it?
Something else.
Yeah.
Anyways,
it's a very popular one out there. Anyways,
and
he even said he couldn't say anything, and other people on the rules committee could not say anything because of the NDAs that they signed. And if you look at the rules committee, there's the commissioner, there's the CFLPA. So obviously every team has a rep on the CFLPA, and also there's coaches. So if a coach says that they didn't know about it, they can't really say that they knew about it because they signed NDAs. So technically they knew about it, but they just couldn't freaking say anything about it.
They couldn't admit that, yeah. Yeah, I'm just trying to think, because with the comments that Nathan Rourke had made. Firstly, as much as I don't agree with Rourke on everything he says here, I admire the fact that he went swinging. You know what I mean? That he went out and he and he was willing to kind of put himself out there, probably knowing very well that he could easily get fined for saying what he was saying. Some made comments about, well, technically the players shouldn't even have to be consulted. You're an employee, and the CFL is your employer. You listen to what your boss tells you to do. To which I understand that approach, but it's a little bit different with professional sports. Because it's just not a traditional profession. But, you know, the other aspect that I see to that is I think Nathan Rourke going out and making these comments is kind of healthy in the sense of that it causes noise. It gets people talking. I mean, think what you want about Luke Wilson. Again, I've had some issues. I've disagreed with a lot of things he said. I've agreed with some things that he said. He has caused noise. He's caused a buzz within the CFL. He's gotten more people talking about the CFL, for better or for worse. And also, a little bit of credit to Stuart Johnson, which I know a lot of people are going to hate hearing that from me. And the reason why I'm saying that is he could have very easily just said, all right, Nathan Rourke, you're fined, and then no comment on anything else. A lot of commissioners in a lot of leagues would have done that. Actually, when McLeod Bethel-Thompson complained about the scheduling, that was what Randy Ambrosie did. Randy Ambrosie didn't make a single comment. He just fined his ass for talking about the scheduling when he was over in his time in Edmonton. You remember this, Rick? When Bethel-Thompson had a big issue with it?
It's funny you mention that because, as I mentioned to you earlier, CJ Rivas from Saskatchewan, went on Twitter about how he, got a penalty and that it shouldn't have been, blah blah, airing his.
He was asking what he should have done
because of the comments that he made on social media.
Oh, did he get fined for that?
Oh, he did.
Yeah. Well, I mean. No, but in the sense of what I meant by that is I can respect the fact that Stuart Johnston outright gets attacked on social media, and he at least had the balls to say, you know what, hey, then me and Nathan will talk it out. Then we'll I'll explain why we did what we did, and we'll chat about it. And I respect that approach, and so.
But who's to say that he doesn't get fined down the road?
I mean, he might, but I'll put it this way. He didn't fine him yet.
I mean, if Luke Wilson says that this league is hot garbage, then
Okay, let's be fair. Luke Wilson said that at the start to get eyeballs on him.
No, but I mean, still, it's almost like Nathan Rourke saying the same freaking stuff.
The only person that's better at clickbait than Luke Wilson is Rod Peterson.
With a heartbeat.
Rod Peterson. Rod Peterson is the king of clickbait within the CFL, NFL, NHL community. He's the king of clickbait.
So I do have a question for you.
Yep.
That has to do with these rules. Is because we sat in our Pick'ems group last night thinking, okay, what could this be? What are some ideas that you may have thought that it would have been?
I know a lot of people were talking about potential TV deal, or maybe changes to a TV deal. I never seriously thought that they would go to 4 downs. I didn't think that they had the balls to do that. I did seriously think that they might change the Rouge. I didn't expect the goalpost to be going to the end zone. I didn't even think about the play clock. I thought that maybe we would have seen scheduling changes where they would have introduced potentially for subsequent seasons an extra 1 or 2 games to the season that would be at neutral sites around Canada. That was something that I had wondered about in terms of them trying to grow the game. I thought maybe that was something that they'd do. I wasn't sure. I to be honest, I tried not to get too ahead of myself because I saw that a lot of people were, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sit back and we're just going to see what this is.
So one thing that I'm surprised you didn't mention that I thought was going to be a big one with how much backlash that they got I thought the refs in the command center was going to be one.
Yeah, I thought there was potential for that. To be honest, one rule change I wouldn't mind is in the I think this was you who said this, the UFL
About the USFL where they
it's the UFL
over.
now. It's the UFL
Okay.
now, but after the USFL and the XFL merged, but the command center, you can actually hear the audio from the command center, so you can see exactly what they're looking for. To be honest, I'd like that change, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. The only thing I want to discuss before we wrap this up. Do we know how the 35 second play clock works in the last 3 minute? At the 3 minute?
I haven't seen anything yet.
Okay, because I'm gonna assume that there is an actual way that they're doing this that isn't just like the rest of the game continues.
So I can give you my opinion on what it will be. Is if it's incomplete and or out of bounds, the clock stops. If it goes to like a running play or an inbounds play, I'm sure it will start right away.
Yeah.
Because there's people that's saying, okay, well, if you're going to do it within the last 3 minutes of the first half and the last 3 minutes of the end of the game, teams should be given an extra timeout.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I know that's been discussed, but I mean, maybe they'd add that. That'd be such a small change, but is there anything else you got, Rick, there? I think we pretty much covered it. We've been talking about this for basically an hour.
No, I got nothing, but I will say, people, fucking cool your jets.
Calm down.
At least
this isn't the death of Canadian football.
The stuff for 2026, wait till next season till you see how it is, and then
like
the stuff in 2027.
We haven't
2027.
We haven't seen a single game of this, So everybody, cool your jets. If you watch a couple seasons and you're like, you know what, this sucks, then fair enough. You at least gave it a try, but give it a try first.
And one last thing that I will end on. Me and Carter are not sellouts. I know people were saying it to other podcasters earlier. Oh, you like these rules? You guys are sellouts. We're not fucking sellouts. Well, at least not me anyways.
This is Canadian Football Central. We're covering Canadian football, whatever that ends up being. And it's not even, and again, it's not even that I outright like these rules. It's that I like some of them. I'm not a fan of at least one thing, and some of it I'm content with and I'm curious about, and I'm willing to give it a shot. I'm an open-minded person, so let's see where this goes. I just don't think that it's healthy to be very pessimistic about all this, in my prior years, I would have been more pessimistic, but I think I've gotten more open-minded as I've gotten a little older and wiser, Rick. But what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to comment down below. I guys want you to comment the shit out of this video because I know everyone's got an opinion on it. Whether you have an opinion on it. I want to hear it. I want to hear all of it in the comment section down below. The cold, hard truth from your perspective. Make sure you guys leave a like if you haven't already, and subscribe. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, because Rick, you bet your ass we're putting this video on Spotify.
Buddy, we're already updated on Spotify.
There we go. Make sure you guys leave us 5 stars, as we very much appreciate all of your guys' support that you guys give us there. And without further ado, we'll see you in our preview coming later this week.